So hello everyone, welcome to your first class, that is Introduction to Answer Writing. And this is your demo class for both of the batches, that is all-in-one batch which includes descriptive answer writing also, as well as your descriptive answer writing batch for your NABARD Grade A 2024 and RBI Grade B 2024 Phase 2 exam. So the same classes are there because this is nothing but foundational class. So yes, all the paid students also have joined, and yes, all the YouTube students also have joined. So let's begin our session. As you know, this is your first class. It is an introductory lecture to understand what answer writing is all about. Okay, we will here try to understand how to write an answer, what are the basics and what are the introduction or introductory things to know before writing an answer. It will also let you know what is an answer, what actually it means, what are the most critical things to understand that how to write an answer, and then we jump and then we talk about how to write answer. If you directly jump over, I will start writing answer, there are various important things, important do's which you are going to miss, right? And you are going to suffer because of that. So that is why it is my personal take that you first understand what answer writing is. Many students don't know that only. I can prove you this. I will show you through various ways. For example, we will start this session by answering to all these 6 questions. So introduction of answer writing, we begin by what answer writing means. Then from where one should start answer writing, how to begin a particular act of answer writing. Then from after getting the answer of from where to begin, we will try to find out how to start practicing the answers. So how to practice answer writing, how you can make a habit of writing answers, how to begin your journey. As I already told you in the previous class that answer writing is not about bad answer, worse answer versus good and great answer. No, it's never about that. Answer writing is all about, if all the students, if you are considering, then some students are having better answers and some students are having good answers. So the difference is between good versus better. So you just have to get into that only, that the difference which we are looking at, it is between good and better. So try to understand this. When we talk about answer writing here specifically, you will understand that our journey revolves around, or our journey includes how we will do the transition or how we will build our answers from good answers basically to your better answers. So the first question which we will start discussing is what answer writing means. For any of the student, if I tell you what answer writing is, if I ask you what answer writing means, then many students will give their own answers that, sir, I think this is what answer writing means. Some students may also say that, sir, answer writing is nothing but just giving answers to the questions, right? So try to understand that when we are looking at answer writing, one thing to understand, one thing to understand clearly is that first let us break it down, that is answer and writing, and let us understand it from most important of all. From the competitive exams point of view, such as RBI, NABARD, and SEBI. RBI, NABARD and SEBI. Understand it well. You were writing answers in 5th standard 2, you were writing it in 10th standard 2, and you were writing it in 12th standard 2. But what is the difference between the answer writing which is generally written in the competitive exams? Why this becomes very important? So to understand this, we have to understand, or we have to let ourselves know that this answer writing is not the same answer writing which we have learned since our childhood. It's not the same answer writing which we look upon through our textbooks, which we have written in our unit tests, which we have written in our schools, colleges. This is not the same answer writing we are talking about. When you look at this answer writing, always remember there is a proper declared syntax, structure, okay? Then there is proper word limit, and last of all, there is evaluation, which is the main thing which you cannot forget any time. That it's not about writing the answers, it's about evaluation. Now look at the evaluation word carefully. How is one going to evaluate your answer? Always remember, objective assessment is nothing but MCQs, multiple choice questions. If the answer is second option, and if many students have given four number of answers, or third answer, or first answer, then all those students will get 0 marks. There is an objectivity here. Either you can give the answer 2, which is correct, or you can give rest of the options which are there, and whatever options you are choosing other than 2, you will get 0. So to understand this basic thing, that in objective assessment, in multiple choice questions, either you are right or either you are completely wrong. But in descriptive questions or answer writing part, this is subjective assessment. No any answer could be wrong. Anybody in answer writing cannot be given 0 marks. They have to be given some of the other marks, 1, 2. So either one student who will be selected, he'll be getting more marks and you will be getting lesser marks. That would be the only difference between your selection or his selection. So to understand this basic thing, you have to look at this evaluation criteria. The evaluation is not random. For example, there may be 4 to 5 evaluators or examiners who are going to check your answer. So does it really means that examiner should like your answer? No. Then it would be completely dependent on examiner that your selection will be there or not, right? So always remember that evaluation is based on model answer which examiner is having. And this tells you that answer writing is not about writing what you know. Answer writing is not about what you can write. Answer writing is not about what you think the answer is. But answer writing is all about what is to be expected to be written in your answer sheet. Second, what should be the answer according to model answer. So always what should be expected to be written, what is there written in the model answer. What should be the answer of the particular question, what is there in your model answer. So answer writing is less of what you know and less of what you think the answer is, and more of what should be the deserving answer. Once you understand this basic thing, then you will actually feel that yes, the descriptive answer writing part for competitive exams is little bit different. Now, once you get it, suppose let us take one question. Take any example of a question, okay? So I will give you some of the brief examples. So first is, what is migration? What are different types of migration? And enlist what are the factors responsible for migration from rural areas to urban areas? Question number 1. Question number 2. The WTO policies have dual effect on Indian economy. Examine or comment. Comment. Let's consider comment. Third question. The third question is the inflation and unemployment, okay? The inflation and unemployment are skyrocketing in the 21st century. Examine, third question, And fourth question is, okay, fourth question is, what is MSP? What is MSP? And what are the advantages and disadvantages of legalizing MSP? Okay, we will take one more question associated with it. Two questions we'll take related to ARD also a little bit. ESI I told you first three questions. Now ARD. What is the main objective of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana? What is the eligibility criteria for Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana? What are the challenges associated with Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana? And what is the future scope of Fasal Bima Yojana? Overall, this is one question. Okay, so objectives, they can write such that Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, state its objectives. What are the pillars, challenges, as well as future scope of the scheme? Simple. Next question which I'll ask is associated with forestry. What is agroforestry and what are different components of agroforestry? Mention advantages and disadvantages of agroforestry. Cool. And last question we will talk about. Let us take a question related to the financial credit availability to the farmer. Okay, so we can talk about the institutionalization of credit could solve the debt crisis associated with farmers. Considering this line, discuss that what are the different financial hurdles farmers go through in their overall agricultural annual cycle. Simple. These all questions which you are looking at, any question you try to write here, how will you understand that you are going to write the answer which examiner has in his model answer? How in each of this answer you can write what is expected or what should be the answer rather than what you think, because there is a very thin line. There is a very thin line which says what is actually the answer and what you think the answer is. It's a very thin line. Okay, our target is always to be in the left hand side, that is what actually the answer is according to the model answer which examiner is having. So how to always try to guess that, how to always understand the question in such a way that all our points, all our dimensions, all our arguments will be definitely replicating the nature of the model answer, that examiner also feels that this answer is very close to the model answer and he gives you more marks. So that will only happen if you find the proper demand of the question. What do you mean by demand of the question? For all the questions which I asked, directly a question which I asked to you first from migration, then the topic I also asked a question related to inflation and unemployment. I also asked a question which was associated with your the finances associated, the financial credit facility which is available to the farmers. I asked a question related to agroforestry. All these questions, when you look at these questions, just keep them in front of your eyes or keep these topics in front of your eyes and try to understand that what were the actual demand of the questions which I just gave you as an example. When I talk about these questions, understand very carefully. The questions which have been asked, each question has a different demand. What is this demand all about? Always remember. So the first statement always for any question, let us take one example here. I will take the example of the financial, the institutional credit. Okay, financial institutional credit seems to be an one-stop solution for the financial challenges of the farmer. In this light, mention what are the financial challenges farmers go through in their overall agricultural annual cycle. Understood? If this question is there, okay, always remember certain types of questions will be asked. You have to find the demand of the question. If you don't know the demand of the question, how you are going to write the answer? To understand this, you have to break down the question. Any question could be broken down into first is the keyword, topic or keyword, second is directive, and third is parts. Now what do you mean by this? Any question could be broken down into these three things. Let's take an example of the WTO policies. Okay, the WTO policies have dual effect on Indian economy. Comment. Here your keyword or topic or theme of the question is WTO associated policies. The effect of WTO policies in international market. Okay, the overall WTO policies theme is your keyword or topic. The overall answer will revolve around various arguments, points, example, case studies which are associated with WTO policies. What are the directives? Suppose I ask you, what ice cream do you like? Which ice cream do you like? Okay? Where do you go to eat ice cream? Okay? And why do you like the ice cream? All these questions, ice cream is your keyword or topic, the subject of the question. The directive is nothing but the directive decides the direction of your answer. The directive decides how you are going to write the answer, how different the answer is going to be irrespective of the keyword or the topic or the subject of a particular question remains same. So how to understand this? The only solution is to find the directives, various directives when we are talking about. These are nothing but what, where, how. But in descriptive answer writing for competitive exams, are just simple questions like what, how asked? No. So various directives are, for example, discuss, examine, analyze, critically analyze, comment, okay, describe, then elucidate. These are some of the examples which decide the overall direction of a question. Shall I give you an example? Okay. What is migration? Okay. And what are the different factors which are responsible for migration from rural areas to urban areas? Okay. The first question which we are looking at, what is the directive? It simply asks what. So straight away you have to give the answer. What if we try to add a discuss here? Discuss the factors which are responsible for migration from rural to urban areas. What if we remove discuss and we put examine? Examine the factors which are responsible for migration from rural areas to urban areas. What if we keep critically analyze the factors which are responsible for migration from rural areas to urban areas? What this shows? This shows that the more and more directives you will change, the topic will remain to be same, but the answer will change. When discuss is said, at that time you will try to see what are the multiple dimensions, multiple yeas and nays, multiple yes and no's, okay, multiple points which are supporting and against each other, and you will try to provide a holistic version, okay, of a particular question and the answer associated with that. If critically analyze is there, then we will see both the sides, positives or advantages as well as negatives and advantages. And when comment will come, comment is nothing but if comment question is there, for example, WTO policies have dual effect on Indian economy, comment. So comment talks about what is your perspective, what is your opinion, tell us something what you feel about this statement. Do you feel this statement is correct? Do you feel this statement is wrong? If yes, if you feel correct, then mention positives and negatives in context of the dual effect of the WTO policies on Indian economy. Okay? If you don't feel that, then substantiate with your arguments why you don't feel this statement is correct. You understood? So various directives are having meaning. Based on that, completely your answer will change. If I tell you to discuss something, you discuss that and then you conclude, and discussion is all about, it's never polarized. It is never having two sides. Discussion is nothing but taking everything into consideration. If examine is said, then examine is nothing but take each point, question it, validate it, take again next point, question it, validate it, and at the end summarize, and then you can conclude. Similarly then, one more thing, analyze. Analyze is nothing but write the points and have a deep analysis associated with each point. The analysis may include various examples, data associated, etc. And lastly, parts. So a question may have multiple parts. For example, a question which I just told you. Consider Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, mention its objectives, write about the eligibility criteria of Fasal Bima Yojana. Okay, so consider Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, write its objective, write the eligibility criteria, write also about the challenges and the future scope of the scheme. Look at the parts here, 5 parts are there. Similarly, what is migration, and discuss various factors which are responsible for migration from rural areas to urban areas. 2 parts are there. So these 3 points let us know that any question, what is the topic in that question, in which direction we are going to write the answer, or how we are going to write arguments, twist the facts, so that we are going to give justice to the demand of that particular question, and lastly, how much parts are there so that we can divide our answer into that parts. Did you understand? Overall, if you look at these 3 parts, these are responsible for framing up of this particular question. Okay? Any question in the world, if you want to understand the demand of the question, first know what is the keyword and topic about, then know what are the directives about, and then know what are the parts about. Once you have these 3 things with you, overall you will understand the demand of the question. A very beautiful example I will give you. In the answer writing series which we are doing on YouTube, the first question which I gave students, the question was that what is MSP and what are advantages and disadvantages of MSP. So, what is MSP? And what are advantages and disadvantages of legalizing MSP. Almost 5 to 6 students wrote the answer wrong. Why? Because they hurried it up. They just read it, okay, what is MSP? What are advantages, disadvantages? I will write the answer. So that is why reading the question properly is required. That is why understanding what is the demand inside this question, it is very important to understand. Sometimes the words will not be able to give you overall understanding of the question. So let us try to find out. What is MSP? It's a simple question. 2 parts are there. What is MSP is the first part, and what are the positive and negative advantage, disadvantages of legalizing MSP? Second part. What is the keyword or topic here? Is it just MSP? No. It is legalization of MSP. It is nothing but legal backing provided to the MSP. Did you understand now? So this is your topic. And what is the keyword here? Simple. We have to write what or what are the positives and negatives. Generally, positive and negative is nothing but critically analyze. So this now gives us the full meaning of the question. What if a student does not do this particular analysis or try to find the exact demand of the question? He will directly jump into writing the answer, and maybe he may confuse between just minimum support price and your legalization of MSP. 5 to 6 students in our YouTube answer writing series wrote what is MSP and what are positive and negatives of MSP. And the whole answer was revolving around positive and negative of MSP. If you do such a blunder, you will always get less marks. So that is why understanding demand of the question is very important. When I tell you that WTO policies and dual effect on Indian economy, comment. So the comment it's talking about, if their discuss was there, then you should have talked about all the arguments, all the points. It doesn't really matter positive are there, negative are there, balanced are there. You talk about everything when discuss is there. When we talk about comment, you mention multiple arguments, and lastly when you are going to conclude, you give a balanced point of view and perspective which you feel. There should be something which you are giving to the answer. Your answer should be unique because it is saying comment. If critically analyze was there to that statement, then we would have written the answer in positive format. That is how WTO policies are positively affecting Indian economy and negatively affecting Indian economy. So in this way, more and more your directive words will change, your direction of answer or what you are going to write in answer, that will change. To understand this is nothing but understanding the demand of the question. The meaning of the question, everybody understands it. but still many people are not able to write the answer properly. It's not just about having content. The content also has to be written in a proper order, proper flow, which we will talk right now. So when we talk about answer writing, if any question is there, and as I told you, the demand of question, okay, the demand of the question when I'm talking about how to actually write an answer which exactly matches or justifies the demand of the question. Okay, how to write an answer which justifies the demand of the question. So whatever answer you will write, the first thing is that it should have content plus context. What do you mean by content and context? Suppose WTO related question was there or a migration related question was there. Okay, they have asked you multiple factors which are responsible for migration from rural to urban areas. In that, if you are bombarding with the migration which happens in India or migrations which is happening all over the globe, does that fact makes any sense? No. So the content is prerequisite. It is very important. It is one of the quintessential things before answer writing. But you have to write the content at the right time, at the right place. That makes your answer very great. And that differentiates your answer from an average answer. Okay? So writing content, that also proper content in proper context, is one of the nerves of answer writing. Lastly, whatever you write, it should be concise. Why it should be concise? It should be concise because there is word limit to answer writing. Every question, if 15 marker is there, it will have 600 word limit. If 10 marker is there, it will have 400 word limit. You cannot cross the word limit, as I told you that the answer writing definition for competitive exams is very strict. The word limit has to be maintained. Errors. There are three types of errors in answer writing. What are the errors? The errors which we talk about are punctuation errors, spelling errors, and lastly, your punctuation, spelling errors, and your grammatical errors. I forgot. Okay. So punctuation, spelling, and grammatical. All these three errors are of such nature that they can take away the marks which you deserve. There are two mistakes in life which we do. Some are conscious, some are unconscious. I will request you that do not make conscious mistakes, that is error prone. Okay? And lastly, everything which we just discussed right now, whatever you write, it should make sense and justify the demand of the question. And how it will justify? Simple. Find the keyword, find the directive, find the number of parts in the question, and then understand throughout what that question is requiring or what is the demand actually under that statement. Okay? Now, as you understand overall the deep analysis of answer writing, let me define to you, as we were discussing about what is answer writing. Answer writing is nothing but the way of comprehending or comprehension. The answer writing is nothing but the way of comprehending the content into proper context in the most concise way without any errors, in such a way that the complete justification is given to the demand of the question asked. What is the definition of answer writing? The way of comprehending content into proper context in the most concise words in such a way that minimum errors are there and proper structure is there to justify the demand of the question. Okay? With errors, here structure is also very important. There is certain structure also to the answer writing. What it means by structure? Remember that whenever you are writing an answer, there is proper introduction, which starts the answer and which is the first impression. Then there is body of the answer, which is the main part and addresses the justification to the demand of the question. And lastly, the conclusion. Even when we are talking about body, it is divided into multiple headings, subheadings, and each subheading is having multiple points. Each points could be either arguments, could be either main points, and each main points and arguments are supported by examples, case studies, and data for the matter of fact. Once you understand this definition of the question, now I can say that you actually understand overall what is answer writing. The next question is from where to start answer writing. So there is nothing such like that you should begin your answer writing only at this time. The only prerequisite is that you should finish your at least 60% of syllabus related to a topic. Any topic you consider or subtopic you consider, if you want to start answer writing, just finish 60% of that topic and you can start writing an answer. Even if you are not knowing the remaining part of certain content, or if you are not having fully fledged content with you, if you are feeling that you are falling short of content, then also you can start your answer writing at any moment. So from where to start it? First you complete your syllabus at least 60 to 80%. And from where to start? Yes, you pick any random question or past year question and you can directly start writing. Then it's how to start answer writing. Always remember there are various steps of doing answer writing practice. The answer writing is not about directly jumping by looking at a question, directly jumping to write the answer. When we look at any answer writing, remember that there are important first basic steps and points to begin your answer writing journey. So how to begin your answer writing journey? So there are three important steps. The first thing to understand is that anytime when you are writing the answer, proper structure should be there. I already told you. Likewise, your standard operating procedure is also there. In the sense, there are proper steps through which you have to write the answer. Whenever you read a question, directly you should start writing? No. So first thing is identification of keyword after reading the question. After understanding the keyword, you move towards directives. Then you move towards parts. Once you understand these three main parts, then you have the keywords with you, you have the directives with you, and you have the parts with you. Now this gives you full information about the what question has been asked and what is the underlying demand. Once you get this, once you understand what is the question really asking about, you can start structuring, you can start brainstorming. So the next step 2 is about brainstorming. The brainstorming is nothing but first you collect whatever you are going to write in your answer. Collect all the points, collect all the arguments. Decide for each point what is the heading you are going to write. What is that keyword, what is that word which is going to holistically explain about that point. So collect all such points and content which you are going to write in your answer. The step 2. After having all the points, then decide what is your flow or what is the order of your points. Okay, this point is very important, I am going to write it first. This point is not that important, I will go write it last. So collect all the points, then have a proper order to that points. In each of these points or heading, we may say, have multiple statements, arguments. For each arguments, also think and brainstorm what examples you are going to add in this question, what data you are going to add in this answer, what case study or example you are going to add in this answer. Decide everything what you are going to write during your brainstorming session. Once the brainstorming is done, you can now again try to break down your overall content which you have just brainstormed into introduction, body, and conclusion. The introduction is nothing but simply you can talk about the first impression. The first impression has to be always simple. It should be crisp. And most important of all, it should be very basic, which explains everything. So either you can start your introduction by just defining, by explaining the terminology, by setting a background, or just writing what is the topic about. If WTO policies are there, just write what WTO policies are. If the question is on migration, write just what migration is. That's also fine. The most important thing about introduction is that it should hook the examiner to intuitively read the next parts of the question, next parts of your answer. Then comes the main body. The main body, you will write it in multiple points. So if this is your paper, this is your intro, this is your conclusion, and this is your body. The body which we are talking about, it would be made up of multiple headings. Each heading is supported by multiple subheadings, and subheadings are supported by multiple points or arguments. Each argument shall have an example, a data, wherever required. The arguments, no one believes arguments. The arguments should be always substantiated by examples and data. This is very important. Lastly, conclusion, which is the last impression for examiner, but first impression for giving the marks, isn't it? So conclusion also should be very important. And lastly of all, the last step is writing what you brainstorm or writing what you have just thought. This is the whole step and procedure of answer writing. I also told you about the errors. What are the errors which one can avoid? Spending too much time on introduction and conclusion. The mark distribution for answer writing, for introduction it is 1/5, for conclusion it is 1/5, for body it is 3/5, that is 3/5. So therefore, in same respective way, you should allocate the time. Beating around the bush. You have to be honest with yourself. It doesn't even mean that leave the answers blank if you don't know about them. You can always try writing answer in a generic format. But beating around the bush is nothing but you don't know something, but you are trying to tell examiner that I know something. So this can be avoided where you have lack of knowledge. The mistakes such as spelling, grammatical and punctuation can be always avoided. If question is having 3 parts, then the answer also should have 3 parts. Sometimes if 2 parts are there and if you only try to answer in 1 part, the examiner will feel that the second part of the question has not been answered. So therefore, it is very important that whatever parts are there in the question, that much parts are there in your answer. Time management is very important. Although in RBI, NABARD, various regulatory bodies exam, the time is abundant here. Only the quality and structure of the answer, that's where you can seize the marks. Not using the keywords. Every answer, every topic and every question which comes has multiple opportunities of writing keywords or important words from that specific field. Maybe if I'm talking about agriculture and the question of MSP which we took, or when we took the question of the institutional credit, we can talk about formalization of credit structures. We can talk about how the debt trap is there. Debt trap is also keyword, right? We can also talk about how the financial suicides are there. This is also a keyword. Financial suicides are nothing but suicides because of the unavailability of finances. Similarly, MSP. We can talk about domino effect of MSP. What is domino effect? Anybody knows? It is nothing but overall the farmers start plantation of one type of crop one after other just because of market forces. Okay? You can talk about black marketing, hoarding because of MSPs. These are the keywords you can write in your answer and let know examiner that you know something much more deeper. This is how you differentiate your answer from rest of the just population. Not writing examples and exceeding the word limit. Examples can be always stated. For example, MSP, you can write that how Punjab, Haryana are the region for which if legalizing MSP is there, these 2 states will profit maximum because almost 90 to 100% of grains are procured as MSP from these states. Good example. You can write this. This shows that overall MSP framework is regionally skewed. Did you get it? Next thing is exceeding word limit. Do not exceed the word limit. 600 words are there. You have to finish it in within 600 words. Okay. Now we discussed majorly how to start answer also. Answer writing in RBI and NABARD. How is it different from your rest of the competitive exams? In RBI and NABARD, the one main difference is that the answer writing you have to do by typing. And the typing which you are doing, these are your orthodox typewriter keyboards. So that is why this is crucial information that typing on these hard keyboards is very difficult. So understand this difference also. And answer writing essentials and do's and don'ts are nothing but what are the cautious mistakes which you could do, or what are the cautions you already take to prevent loss of marks in answer writing. Let us look at the essentials of answer writing here. So when I talk about essentials of answer writing, the first is provide a value addition. What do you mean by value addition? Any answer when you are writing, remember that try to add value to it by adding either examples or your data or stats or case studies. Sticking to the word limit is also very crucial. Address all the parts of the question, and most important of all, whenever you are writing an argument, always substantiate your answer. The agricultural crisis in India makes agriculture unviable activity. Is this statement realistic or unrealistic? The agricultural crisis in India makes agricultural activity unviable in India. So many students may say that, sir, I am feeling that I cannot give the answer to this statement. Okay, these statements I feel that somewhat it is correct also, somewhat it is wrong also. Okay, so no one will believe such a random statement if I am writing in the answer that agricultural crisis is responsible for the unviability of agricultural processes in India. Nobody will trust it. But what if I write it in this way? The agricultural crisis is responsible for unviable agricultural processes in India. The NCRB report shows that in every hour, at least 6 to 12 farmers commit suicide because of unavailability of proper financing, debt trap, as well as unviable agricultural conditions in the country. Now this gives a rock solid evidence. This gives a proper support and substantiation to the argument which you made. NCRB report is saying this. So now the statement becomes a little bit more believable. For examiner, it is also in the same way. The examiner will believe your statements only if you substantiate your statements with proper examples and data. Lastly, use simple language and listen to me very carefully. Flamboyancy in language and complexity always will give you less marks. Keep your answer minimalistic and simple. The second thing is, the answer writing is a way to let know examiner about what your perception is, what your overall approach and attitude is. So therefore, keep critical thinking and your creative ideas in your answer. But let these critical thinking and creative ideas constructive in nature. Constructive in the sense, don't go to extreme. Don't criticize, oh, everything government is doing wrong only. No. So have critical thinking that how improvements could be done. Criticize something but in a constructive way. Tell that, okay, this is something which is wrong, but this way government can improve it. So this is the very important when we are trying to discuss your answer writing. You can also try to be creative, bring original ideas which you never have heard in your answers. This will always beautify your answer. Okay. Lastly, a question example has been given. WTO policies have dual effect on Indian economy. Comment 15 marks or 600 words. WTO, here keyword is WTO and its policies. Here your directive, its comment, and part, only one part of question is there. Okay. Now see here, I have just given you an example of how brainstorming is done. So this is nothing but brainstorming which we are doing. So what is this brainstorm all about? First, positive and negative consequences which are associated with WTO policies having dual effect on Indian economy. So market access is a positive effect. Resolution of trade related disputes related to WTO, positive. Economic liberalization, positive. Now agricultural disputes and their resolution, positive. Now what are the challenges or negative effects that you can write here? How WTO policies. First is preference to the developed nations. You can talk about how the two groups, developed countries and developing countries, are again and again locking their horns on the WTO platform every year. And the contention is very simple. the WTO policy is mostly associated with subsidies which are going in the developing countries. Now this particular information about the locking of horns of developed and developing countries is argument, and the supportive statement could be yes, the subsidies issue that always comes up in the WTO conferences. So in this way you have to substantiate your arguments. Impact on countries' vulnerable sectors, that how LPG reforms, how developed countries are able to pierce the developing countries' domestic economy and how they can exploit the vulnerable sectors. Whereas developing countries are unable to reach the developed countries' markets because of either phytosanitary or sanitary means. IPR concerns, that is nothing but intellectual property rights. And lastly, impact on unemployment, that how unemployment increases because of your opening up of markets. In this way, you can always try to brainstorm. Now, this is one of the examples how you have brainstormed. Once you brainstorm it, you can directly start writing the answer. So let us take one of the example of one question and two answers have been written to the one question only. The question is very simple. The question talks about what is demographic dividend and discuss the advantages and challenges associated with it. Also suggest the way forward to overcome challenges. The question has two parts. Okay. First, the meaning of demographic dividend, and second, the advantages, challenges and way forward for demographic dividend. Are we clear? Marks are 15, word limit is 600. I have two answers for this question. You will tell me at the end that which of these answer was correct or which is getting more marks, which is better and which is not that much better, which is just good or maybe worse. Let us start with the first answer. The first answer definition has a proper ratified definition which has been given by United Nations Population Fund. It also talks about the data associated with demographic dividend in first paragraph only. The definition for demographic dividend has been given as economic growth potential that can result from shift in population's age structure. Mainly, working age population is larger than non-working age share of population. We all know demographic dividend is nothing but when dependent population, when working population becomes more than dependent population, where working population is between 15 to 64 or 14 to 64 and your dependent population is less than 14 years of age and more than 65 years of age. So working population becomes more than dependent. It means that working population will be getting more employment, will be earning more money, more income, more savings, more investment, more economic growth, and in this way the economic growth will be fueled by your human resource. So the human resource development and the peak is achieved because of demographic dividend. All these statements are very generic but have deep analysis. But here the writer has not written that. Writer has just written the introduction. Then he has written data. What data he has written? That how much demographic dividend here in your India is there, in China is there, in US is there. He also talks about the window of opportunity which is from 2005 to your 2055-56. This is the window in which India has the working age population at its peak. Then he talks about the advantages associated with demographic dividend. Now he writes very well. First he writes, become better economic growth will be brought by increased economic activities. So the first point he is talking about that the overall economic development and growth because of the overall demographic dividend and high working age population in the Indian market. He also then breaks down the main point into three sub-points. First, high demographic dividend means high labor force participation. More the labor force participation, more is the productivity of the economy, which is fantastic point. Second point, he writes about increased fiscal space. He talks about that labor force participation or working age population will be more money they will save and more economic growth will be flourished because of their investment and saving. And lastly, he also talks about that many women in this demographic dividend will walk out and will start working and contribute similarly by doing employment. Empirical evidence we are talking about second point. It is nothing but demographic dividend which has historically contributed 15% of overall growth in advanced economy. 2 points are there. Japan was the first major economy to experience such type of rapid growth. So Japan, here example is given to support your empirical evidence. What is this empirical evidence talking about? In whichever country demographic dividend is high, automatically the growth is also high. And country's demographic dividend phase lasted from 1964 to year 2004 for Japan. The third point talks about rise in workforce, that how 65% of working age population in India can actually make India an economic superpower. And lastly, effective policy making will be required. Why? Because just having huge population is of no point. They should have proper skills, education and health so that proper reaping of the demographic dividend is done. Lastly, challenges he has written. First is asymmetric demography, which talks about asymmetric demography. It talks about how the growth of working age ratio is likely to be concentrated in one of the poorest regions in India. For example, in North India, the working age population is really very, very high. But there the opportunities are not there. And in South India, the working age population is not as high as North, but the opportunities are there. So, this regional asymmetry of demography, that in poorer areas the demographic dividend peaks high, is of no gainful employment opportunities also and contribution to the sizable economy also. Second is lack of skills. Huge population is in your working age group or your demographic dividend, but they are not having sufficient skill which are required at marketplace. Lastly, your low human development parameters. So India ranks 131 out of 189. The Human Development Index tells us that education is not proper, standard of living is not proper, etc. And lastly, informal nature of economy is there. Although the huge working age population is working, major of them are either in unorganized sector or informal economy. Now they have to be brought into the formalized economy so as their contribution actually goes to the GDP. And then your optimistic points are given towards the brighter future, that what should be done. So first is building human capital, how to invest in R&D, education, healthcare, skills, so that all these peak working population in demographic dividend definitely are contributing for the economy. Then it's to reap the demographic dividend, proper investment has to be done on the human capital wherever required. In this way, this answer has been written, and lastly, a conclusion has been written that how India can actually reap its demographic dividend and how we can prevent a demographic dividend turn into a demographic disaster. What is a demographic disaster? Where unskilling is there, where huge population is in working age, but they don't have jobs, unemployment is there, where even your demographic dividend is high, but unproductive employment is there. In this way, your demographic disaster occurs because by your demographic dividend. This was your first answer. Let us go through our second answer. Demographic dividend refers to economic growth. Now here, the second answer, the first answer if you saw, it was structural, it has all the points, it had data also, proper defined definition also. So that was a perfect answer. Now I will tell you that in spite of first answer being perfect, my favorite answer is answer number 2. Why? Because it is simple and it is basic. Let us go through. And most important of all, the second answer has been written by me only, of course, but the structure is very beautiful. Let's look at it. Introduction. Simple introduction. Demographic dividend refers to the economic growth potential that can result from shifts in population age structure, particularly from working age population 15 to 64 years, which is larger than the dependent population under 15 years or over 65 years. Clear? Simple. Demographic dividend is nothing but economic growth potential when working population is more than dependent population. Simple. Now, advantages. Look at the structure, guys. Advantage, first point. What is the heading here? Increased workforce. What is the point? Demographic dividend happens, large population starts working. This working age here adds more population in the workforce. Now it boosts the economic output and your productivity. What is the example? India's youthful population has contributed to its economic growth by providing your significant labor force. This is the example. Okay, here even you would have added data also. Okay, second point, higher saving and investment, the same point which the first answer was telling about, the fiscal space evolution. But here saving, investment, and here see example also has been given for the same point. Countries like South Korea, Singapore, they have leveraged the demographic dividend by the overall saving and investment which comes through this working group. Then innovation and entrepreneurship. Here example, Silicon Valley and United States benefited from the young and dynamic workforce which traveled from different parts of the world in the United States of America, and how they contributed for the developing of Silicon Valley. Lastly, challenges now, advantages, after that challenges. First is employment generation, that is related to skilling. In many developing countries, Nigeria, Pakistan also, here demographic dividend is there, but it has now turned into demographic disaster because of the unavailability of jobs. Proper skilling has to be provided for this. Skill mismatch, whatever skill is learned through education, that is not what it is asked in your overall marketplace. So there is a huge gap between the skill, between the workforce, and that is demanded between the market. And lastly, example here could be your skills, proper training and education which happens for a normal graduate student when he passes out and what the workforce is asking. The third point is dependency burden, that how your aging population increases, there is also risk of the dependency ratio. For a demographic dividend, it is always a prerequisite that working population ratio should be higher than your dependent population. And then your way forward is given. Way forward also brilliant points are given. First is investment in education and skill development, promoting entrepreneurship, labor market reforms so that skilling gap is matched, and social security measures also so that the dependent population, especially above 60 years, still has some money in their hands. They don't become financially dependent. And conclusion is very basic, that how we can reap our overall demographic dividend. See, I showed you two answers for one question. The first answer was very complicated but was perfect in nature. But still, as we were looking at the structure and content, our second answer is better than even first answer. So this is what I was trying to tell you. With this, we end our session. I hope that you understood today what is actually the definition of answer writing, how to write answer, how to understand the demand of a question, how we can start answer writing, and most important of all, when we looked at the example, two answers for one question, but how one answer was the star and how it created differentiation between the second. Just imagine this, that the first answer has been written by a student and second answer also has been written by a student A and B. So this shows you that neither of the answer was bad, only one of the answer is better than other. Thank you very much. See you next time.